Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 88 for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Season 5. This is the finale of this season, and what a season it has been. A season that has brought two new manufacturers to Formula 1 in the form of Porsche and Jaguar, has seen some big name transfers, some highs and lows for many drivers, and quite a few different storylines throughout this season, but one that has been there from the start has been the emergence of George Russell at his new team, McLaren. Starting off the season with a surprising win, having been knocked out of Q2 on the Saturday, and little did we know that he would go on to actually be the driver with the most wins this season. But at that point, it wasn't clear that Russell would be in a title fight. What was clear was that we were being consistent, and after having won at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we were actually controlling a pretty decent lead in the standing. But just before the halfway point of the season, then disaster strikes at the Austrian Grand Prix. Having just got into the lead, our turbo went pop, a DNF, and Russell wins that race. A good haul of points, but we were still in the lead of the championship. But of course, you all well know, disaster struck twice. A second DNF in a row as our internal combustion engine fails, and Russell was there once again to pick up the pieces and win it. And this time, it was a 1-2 with Lando Norris for McLaren at their home race. A devastating blow for us and the team as McLaren took the constructors' lead and Russell a commanding lead. We had to bounce back, and we did in great fashion immediately after the Belgium Grand Prix, taking victory there, but the road was still long to recovery, to chasing back down George Russell. He continued to be ever consistent in qualifying and the race, which meant we had to chip away slowly at the lead, and progress was going well. But then at the Mexican Grand Prix, we had to take grid penalties, a back of the grid start for us, a difficult race where we didn't recover as much as I thought we could do. It would only be a P5 finish, and yet another blow was dealt to us the very next race at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Having been in the lead for a couple of laps at the end of the race, on the last lap of the Grand Prix, we were overtaken by Russell, and he would go on to take yet another win this season. A narrow finish at Sao Paulo, but just showing how much of a great competitor George Russell was this season, that he was going to be a real challenge to beat. It then went down to the final three races. Of course, you guys know, if you watched that episode, a controversial Australian Grand Prix where we had a crash with Russell in Q2. We were out of qualifying. He went through into the top 10 shootout. We recovered well in that race to actually outscore him. And then there was a devastating duel in Jeddah that went down right to the wire. The final corner, side by side, and a literal photo finish, a mere thousandths of seconds separating myself and Russell to the line to get second over his third. And that sets up the race we have today at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We lead the championship by 1 point. It is the first time we've led the championship ever since we lost the lead after those two double DNFs earlier in the season. So this is not a position I've been in, and it's taken a lot of work to get to this one. A bit of luck here and there as well, but you need some, in the same way Russell got lucky with winning the two races that we DNF'd at. But we're here now, and we've got one final race for all the marbles. The Constructors Championship is also still technically in the balance, but it's going to be difficult. You know, Leclerc, our teammate, having started the season so strongly, has really dropped off, and I'm not too confident about it, but never say never. We could still win the Constructors, but I think it's going to be tough to get that fourth title in a row. Of course, for the driver's title, we haven't won in 2 seasons. The last time we won was Season 2, and both times it's been such a close affair for the final race, and we've lost out twice in a row, so I'm so determined and desperate to try and overturn this time and actually come out victorious. But we're going to have to see. Like I said, Russell's AI, he has been an absolute animal this season. So consistent, so quick at times in qualifying, in race pace terms. And so we're going to have to really dig deep here. And, you know, Yas Marina, Abu Dhabi, crazy things happen around this circuit. You've got tyre wear, safety car, traffic, so many different variables can crop up in the race. But first and foremost, it's all about the one-lap pace on Saturday here. And hopefully the car goes well around Yas Marina, not just today, but also tomorrow for the race on Sunday, as it has been for most of this season. You know, we've had the car, and we've been driving in a way where we've always been aiming for the top spots, the second row, or even the front row consistently on Saturday, and then podiums, the race wins. Of course, we were in the lead for the 2 DNFs we had, so we would have won those 2 races, I feel. We didn't have those 2 mechanical failures, and ever since then, we've been aiming for the win in every single race, but not even just because of our car and how we've been driving, but also because we've had to, because Russell's AI has been aiming for that. So as the sun goes down, then the floodlights are out. It's time for Q2. We actually have to overtake Leclerc with a bit of traffic on our flying lap, so once again, even though he's got nothing to fight for in the championship, Leclerc not being the best team player and helping me out there, kind of having to overtake him, not ideal really, and he's on the medium tyre, that was as well. I don't know why Leclerc feels like he's confident enough to make it through on mediums. He's had some woeful qualifyings ever since his slump about, you know, a third of the way through into this season, so very over-optimistic from Leclerc, I would say, at the moment, that first run, and for us, it's going to be a pretty decent lap, I would say. Russell P1, ourselves in P2. No surprise there, nothing changes. Gasly, though, does go quickest of all, but no surprise to see myself and Russell together again here in qualifying 2. And now we're going to watch on and see how Leclerc gets on with his second run. The first time he's going to go onto the soft compound in this session, very weirdly enough, but a couple of people now on their second flyers. Myself, Russell, and Gasly, the top 3 in the timings right now, not opted to go out again. We feel like it's safe enough, but that proved to be disastrous in my thinking, because we are knocked out of Q2. This is the complete opposite of what we needed. Ironically, Leclerc gets up into P2, Lando up into P1, and myself and Russell were P9 and 11. That is a facepalm moment, and so much frustration there of, you know, we would have had the pace easily to get through into the top 10 shootout. We went again and maybe improved, but I thought we had enough time there. Russell did, Gasly did. Ultimately, they did, and we just about missed out. You know, maybe I should have looked at the gap. It was, you know, what was it, 2.8 tenths to Gasly. Maybe if I was 2 tenths within Gasly, I should have felt a lot safer. But I thought I was just overconfident. I thought we had it, didn't need to go again, and the overconfidence has bitten me back. So we never like making it easy for ourselves, do we? In the final race, we are going to start in P11 then. And I don't even want to know where Russell's going to end up. Knowing my luck and knowing how good he's been, he's going to be on pole position. I just know it. Let's go to the grid. Let's go to the grid sequence and find out.
It's the final chapter of the season then here at the spectacular Yas Marina circuit. It's a race where the pole sitter failed to finish in 3 of the first 4 events. A front row start here is by no means a guarantee of victory, so we go into battle once more as we get underway at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The drivers will be racing here at the Yas Marina circuit through 21 corners and a lap distance of just over 3.4 miles. There are a few opportunities to pass, with long straights and DRS zones in 2 places, turns 8 and turn 11. Plenty of close racing then, plenty of speed, and I hope plenty of drama to be found in the laps ahead.
Well, like I said, what did I say? You can see that Golf McLaren on pole position, and that is indeed the McLaren of George Russell. He is on pole position. So it looks like this final race is going to have to be just like this season's been. Russell with the massive advantage. We're chasing down, and we're going to have to do it against all odds if we want to try and overturn what's happened here. That's the same descriptor I can give for the entire season, not just this race weekend. We're down in P11. He is in P1. We've got a real big first stint to happen in this race.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. George Russell did very well in qualifying yesterday and will start today's race from pole position. And it's Pierre Gasly in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Giovinazzi, Lando Norris and Mick Schumacher, Bottas, Joe, the owner driver and Charles Leclerc, Verstappen, Ocon, Lewis Hamilton and Tsunoda, Stroll, Mazepin, Callum Islet and Jack Aitken. Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Lundgaard, Matsushita and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
We're still in with a shot at the driver's title. It's down to this. Now go out there and come back a champion.
Very encouraging words there from Jeff, and actually something I realised on the grid sequence, the proper one where we could see the timings, it actually seemed like Leclerc actually managed to get the actual pole position, but then had an engine penalty. Now that's really unfortunate because one, that would have been maybe more useful to have him up there to block Russell, but also thinking about it, with his performances and his focus this season, he wouldn't have really actually probably held up Russell that much if he actually was on pole. He probably would have lost the lead straight away into turn one. So in having the grid penalty, Leclerc technically has helped us still a little bit because we're now one position higher, which is one position closer to Russell. I don't know, maybe that's just very wishful thinking of thinking positively about the situation here. Maybe it would have been better for him to be in pole position rather than Russell, but I don't know. But we're starting P9. We're going to probably start on the soft compound tyre because both strategies are either a 2-stop or a 3-stop, from softs to 2 mediums or 2 softs and 2 mediums. So either way, starting on a medium probably actually won't give us much of a strategy advantage because I'd rather actually be quick right now in this first stint to overtake as many cars as I can to have, to try and bridge the gap that we have, essentially, the distance on the road to George Russell's car on pole position, and then we'll see what we can do from there. The tyre wear towards the end of the race is definitely going to be a factor. Traffic will be a factor, and also the safety car, I'm sure, and maybe other things as well, as always is the case here around Yas Marina. It's been a season of so much different drama and action, but only 2 drivers have been consistently there the whole time, myself and George Russell, and it all comes down to one final race here as we go to 5 red lights to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we're on the way from P9. It's a slow start for us. Leclerc's jumped us into turn 1. He's actually blocking us into the racing line, but Gasly's overtaken Russell. Russell's down to P2. The AlphaTauri has done us a solid. Last season's one of our main rivals is helping us right now. Russell's down to P2. We're looking to overtake Leclerc to get back up into P9, but once again, Leclerc proving to be unuseful to us as a teammate. He's not in the fight, and he's not doing us any service, but nevertheless, we're back up into P9 then, and we can get moving forwards, but up the road, Russell in P2, having been overtaken by Gasly, is now going back down in the inside for the race lead. It's a really bold move, and a crucial one for Russell to get back into the lead, to control his race lead as we go swap left to right, overtake Schumacher, and then have the run on Valtteri Bottas. Meanwhile, further up the road, Russell's still finishing off this move, and he gets it. He's back into the lead. We've got Sainz now up into P2, I believe, as we are very harsh on Valtteri Bottas and make sure we get the overtake. No funny business, and now we've got some clean air to chase after that pack that's tail-ended by Guan Yu Zhou, led by Russell. Sainz is up into P2, Gasly in third ahead of Giovinazzi and Lando Norris, and Leclerc is overtaking Bottas up into P9, so that's good news for us as he goes under that hotel tunnel. Leclerc up into P9. Now can he try and go chasing after Schumacher and do us a solid, obviously in the Constructors, to maybe close up to this man ahead of us, Lando Norris, as we look to overtake the other Williams of Guan Yu Zhou. And whilst we've done that, you would have noticed there on the top left, Gasly's come in for a pit stop, so he must have got damage in that fight with Carlos Sainz maybe. So that's one more free position, so we're up into P5 now. We've got Norris and Giovinazzi ahead of us, and then a large gap to bridge to Carlos Sainz, and then further still to George Russell. But this is good progress, and even better progress as we look to hunt and overtake one of the McLarens today at the moment. But Norris with a stern bit of defence, very close. We bang tyres, and I almost slam into the back of him, as that was some really robust defending from Norris. But he's actually been squeezed out so much because he went deep into that left-hander that he's actually now behind Guan Yu Zhou and just ahead of Leclerc. So could Leclerc actually do a solid, do what he needs to do for this the team and actually overtake Lando to beat him on track. We need to try and beat Russell, and then we'll see how it ends up. I mean, like I said earlier, I do think McLaren have pretty much one hand on the Constructors Trophy. I don't think we'll be getting the 4 titles in a row for the team championship. The drivers is still there, and what we've done right now in the opening 4 laps is exactly what we need to do. But it was tough, you know. This man right here, Lando Norris, with a really, really aggressive pounce down the inside of Guan Yu Zhou. He was so aggressive on his defense against me. Like, he squeezed me out on this very straight, and we then really had to work for it into the chicane as we make a lot easier of a job at overtaking Giovinazzi. Like, that was where Lando squeezed us out so well. I was very surprised at that. So you can see really what it means. You know, everything's on the line. I'm sure McLaren have told him to fight like an absolute lion to keep me behind, but it was no use. Eventually we got up there, and now we're in clean air, having overtaken Giovinazzi as well now on lap 4 to now try and chase after Carlos Sainz and Russell. But there's also the question now of also tyre wear. When do people pull the trigger for that first pit stop? Because the undercut can be so unbelievably powerful around here. As Guan Yu Zhou comes in, maybe damage, having fought Lando, or maybe an early pit stop for tyres. I don't know. As you see Giovinazzi there, his rear end squirreling away a little bit. So the tyre wear is already affecting all of us a little bit. And it's a question of when do you come in, and it's about, you know, stubbornness almost, about, you know, the race leader Russell here. He could be really stubborn and stay out, and then it's up to us of, do we risk it and go early and try and undercut him, but then have more tyre wear later in the race, because of course it means bringing our medium tyre stints forwards. But on lap 5, I'm taking matters into my own hands, and I'm going for it. Lap 5, I'm coming in. It's a bold decision, but I'm not making the mistake we made last season in season's 4th finale. Remember that early safety car we had, and we didn't come in under that safety car, and everyone who pit earlier in that race off the soft tyres, they had a huge advantage on that second stint. So we're going to learn from season 4's finale. We've gone early. Now it's just a question of how is the race pace going to be on these medium tyres, and how long are Russell and Sainz going to go for? More so just Russell. Obviously Sainz is there, but really for our race for the championship, I don't really care where Sainz is, as long as he doesn't hold me up whilst we're racing him, or we catch him, or whatever. I'm fine with wherever the hell he wants to be. And of course, you know, so many times Sainz has been up in the top 5 positions, and then he's either had a DNF from an engine failure, or just bad luck or poor strategy decisions from Ferrari. So I'm not too worried about where the Spaniard's going to be, as we're absolutely sending it now. We overtook the Haas with ease, absolutely sent one Latifi, and now we'll catch up to Jack Aiken. We need to just clear these cars as quickly as we can, because we need the clean air to try and flex the muscles of these fresher medium tyres to get that undercut as we overtake Aiken. The run off the final corner into turn 1. The Alfa Romeo, though, makes it a bit difficult. I had to really pounce for it into turn 1 there, to my surprise. But as we come through the left-hander, there is Sainz then. Sainz is pit. Sainz has come in now, and we've not undercut him. Carlos Sainz's pace was good enough on that first stint to still be ahead, but quite peculiarly, he is on a set of soft tyres. So is he doing the 3-stop, or maybe a 2-stop with 2 sets of softs to lap 14, and then going really long on a set of hards maybe, or mediums? I don't know. Whatever the case, the Ferrari, he's ahead of us, and he's going to be a lot quicker than I am, because although I feel like for our car, the My Team FOM car, I think the mediums are the best race tyre for Abu Dhabi. Like, they give the best race pace and bang for your buck in terms of the tyre wear. But for sure right now, Sainz will be quicker than us. So as we clear Christian Lundgaard, it's going to be quite difficult to actually keep up with Sainz on those soft tyres. And Russell is continuing on for a whole nother lap. This is him on to P8. Giovinazzi, I believe, is about to come in for Red Bull, and Norris will continue on. So it's not even a case of Russell not coming in to avoid a double stack. McLaren McLaren, as a team, they're 1-2 right now, and they're the only team going this long on soft tyres, because Verstappen and Hamilton there, P3 and 4, they're on mediums. They started on mediums, so what is going on? This is the same team that had to pit Russell an extra time at the Australian Grand Prix 3 races ago because of too much tyre wear. The same team that put Lando Norris on a 2-stop around the Belgium Grand Prix because of their tyre wear. What has gone on? Did they bring a final upgrade to this race or something? Because right now they've become like tyre gurus and they're all fine. Their pace is actually okay on these softs. This is very peculiar. And in terms of the context for the Constructors Championship fight, well, Leclerc's down in P14 and he's got to try and clear that traffic that myself and Sainz cleared, that Giovinazzi is doing at the moment. But from what we're seeing, McLaren definitely have an advantage in this race at the moment, because if they were to copy Sainz's strategy of going on to another set of softs, then, and they have this sort of pace and, you know, low tyre wear, that's an issue for us, because even though the medium's a better race tyre for our car, the McLaren could just be outright quicker, and now we're getting absolutely held up in a half by a mobile chicane or Mazepin in the Alpine there, not doing me any favours as we get on to the next lap, lap number 9. Where is Russell going to be? There is Norris. That means Russell stayed out for one more lap even further. He's going so long on those softs. He comes on lap number 9. We came in on lap number 5. So there's a huge discrepancy of the tyre wear and the pace shown on the tyre compounds between McLaren and ourselves and Ferrari as well. So Ferrari kind of sits in the middle of myself and McLaren with Russell and Norris both going that long on softs. And he's onto another set of soft tyres. So this is a very aggressive strategy for McLaren. A bold one, considering their tyre wear woes earlier in the season, like I've well documented before. But they've got the pace for it, so why not? But there is Russell then, as he goes under the underpass. This is going to be mighty close. We've got a bit of an undercut on him, and we're going to come out side by side as he exits the pit lane. And Russell just gets ahead of us. But what an amazing sight that we came out literally neck and neck as he exited the pits there. That was like 2010 sort of vibes, where you had Alonso fighting in the traffic and very wary of where traffic was going to be. That was a real little throwback, little camera shot moment there for us, as now we're here though, right up his gearbox. Remember, he may be on the softs, but right now on this first lap, his tyres will be warming up still, and mine are fully up to temperature. We've got DRS, he does not. Let's try and overtake him. We need to hold him up as much as we can on these softs and try and wear out his tyres as much as we can by fighting us basically, because otherwise he will have the same sort of pace he showed just then. That first stint as Hamilton has spun it. Oh my god, it's all kicking off here in Abu Dhabi. Hamilton spun it right in front of our eyes. That is absolutely amazing. He's obviously not had the best time this entire career mode series and is still not getting any better, and it's just a flat out AI, one of those AI mistakes where they just spin it out on the throttle, and he's on worn mediums. He's been on from the start, so maybe that's the tyre wear for him, really feeling it in that last sector. As we're now back to the live action on our POV, lap 11, Russell coming for a move. He's got DRS now, of course. We're going for a stern defense. We're literally millimeters away from making contact. We go for this switchback left to right. It's such a tight fight here, and it's a wheel-to-wheel battle in the middle stint between the two title rivals. We're on the outside again, back up into P3. Sainz, he's walking away with this. So I haven't mentioned that, by the way, but even though Russell managed to just about stay ahead of us, Sainz actually did undercut Russell. So the Ferrari, once Verstappen pits, the Ferrari will be in the lead. But look at this, Russell coming for the absolute kamikaze dive before the hotel section. Where did that come from? Russell sends one through. We have to take avoiding action, and we're nearly taken off the road by Russell as he absolutely licks the stamp and literally jams it into the post box, because Russell has just forced his way back into P3. That's frustration from him, probably. He knows that I'm trying to hold him up and and slow him down on this stint, because he can do what Sainz is doing right now and pulling away by about half a second a lap. So we have tried our best to do that, but eventually got frustrated and just absolutely just took matters into his own hands, got the elbows out. I mean, fair play, something I would do if I was in his position. And he's up into P2, and he's now got a bit of a gap on us already as he looks to try and stretch the legs on those softs. And instead, I'm now looking behind me at the other McLaren as Lando Norris coming through in P4. He's got DRS on me, he's on the medium. So McLaren have split their strategies again like they did at Jeddah. It didn't work out for Norris last Grand Prix, if you remember, because he went on one extra pit stop and that wasn't the way to go. But today they've split the strategies and they're both still in the same sort of region in the race. They're just a different way to go about it. I think Norris is matching me with 2 medium tyre stints, whereas Russell and Sainz have gone aggressive. Sainz, though, he comes in very early for lap 12. So I think Ferrari have actually maybe misjudged how much their tyres are wearing out. I think they may have to convert to the 3-stop around here, because surely that's way too early to go to the end on mediums for Sainz. But it means now Russell's in the lead, we're in second, and Norris is still there in third, half a second behind us. He's a lot closer to us than we are to Russell. Of course, you know, that tyre advantage is a really big one, and he showed so much pace in that first stint. So at the moment now, this second phase of the Grand Prix, our first task is to stay ahead of Norris here as he comes for an attack again, but the second task is to try and just stay in some sort of good region to Russell, as we are very, very close to making a bit of contact there with Norris as we just cut across him on the racing line to defend our position. Meanwhile, Leclerc is making an extra pit stop because he's got a front wing change to make. He's got damage. That's pretty much the nail in the coffin for the Constructors. That's pretty much McLaren nailed on to winning the Constructors Championship. It won't be 4 Constructors titles in a row for us. It'll be McLaren taking the honours, but the Drivers' title is still very much up for grabs, and we are pushing so hard and pushing the limits of the grip that we're getting in the middle sector there as we go nearly sideways on, as we're just having to really try and find every bit of lap time on these mediums, and we're doing so because now we've pushed away from Norris on lap 16, so 3 laps later, and we've broken the 1 second to Lando behind us, and we've brought the gap down from 2.5 to 1.4, so we found a second as Russell, remember, lap 16 now, his tyres are going to start wearing out a little bit, and he probably is due to pit, I would say, on this lap or the next one, if we go off how long he went on the first stint. So we're now catching back to him a little bit, and I think we've done very well, you know, to only have a 1.7 gap here. This could have been so much worse. So the work we've done here, as he comes in for his pit stop onto mediums, and he'll be going on to the end of the Grand Prix then, Russell will be. So that's a long old stint on mediums. Meanwhile for us, we continue on to try and stretch this stint, because what my thinking is here is we're going to go on to another set of mediums. We're not going to risk it with a soft tyre and try and match McLaren and do 2 softs in this race. We'll go on to mediums again, but I'll go a little bit longer on this second stint to basically have that last medium stint be like almost like a sprint stint of like 9 laps maximum, where we can just do qualifying performances on the mediums. We don't have to worry about eking the tyres out like we have done in this second stint, and we can just go like a stabbed rat. And I believe that our race pace is going to be better on mediums than Russell's will be on the mediums. I think there's a reason why him and McLaren chose 2 sets of softs. I think it's because they know that their race pace is going to be as good on the mediums, whereas ours is, and it's the preferred tyre for us. We've seen it in real life before, where teams prefer a certain tyre sometimes, and once they go off that tyre, it's bad news for them and great news for their competitors. So I think hopefully that's what I'm hoping we're seeing played out here. So we move on to lap 18. Norris is starting to catch back up to us now, because we're right at the end of this stint. Our tyre wear now is kicking in, but we're going to come in on this lap now. 10 laps to go in this race. We're going to relinquish the lead. I think Lando may cover us off and come in with us. Yes, he will. So Verstappen will take the lead. Sainz then behind him, but both of them have a pit stop to make, I believe. So it will be eventually, I think, well, let's see where we come out here in relation to Russell, but I think it will be Russell ahead of us, surely, because he's got the undercut because he's been on those mediums for at least, like, what was it, 3 laps or 4 laps there. So we definitely lost a bit of time at the end of this stint. But the difference is now we've only got 9 laps of this race to go, and these mediums could go 15. So I can now just go like the clappers and not have to worry about tyre whatsoever. There you go. Russell is 4.4 seconds ahead of us. So we've lost a bit of time, but let's not panic. Here is the task then. Russell's right ahead of us, 4.5 the gap is, and we've got 9 laps to push like absolute hell. No tyre saving needed, and I believe we have the better race pace on these mediums than Russell, and Russell's been on these tyres for a lot longer, so he's going to feel more tyre wear at the end of this race. So it's all down to us. Once again, like a lot of this season, we're left to chase down George Russell if we want to come out on top today. But I'd rather be in this position than a bit nervous trying to control the lead, to be honest. And we are definitely finding a groove right now around Yas Marina. The front end is biting in so well. Purple first sector, green the second. I think this is going to be the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Russell's had it so far in this race. But as we cross the line, there it is, purple. And Sainz is in for his 3rd pit stop. So Ferrari, they tried to do what McLaren were doing with Russell, but they got it all wrong. They went too early. They misjudged their tyre wear, and Sainz has to pit again, whereas Russell did manage this race on 2 sets of softs and will get to the end on the mediums he's on right now. But we continue to find time. Purple again in the first sector. We're going to lose time at this hairpin every time, but we're making it up on the straights and the first sector and third as well. Verstappen now is finally in off those mediums, so there he is round the final bend onto another lap. Lap 22, Russell is into the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we're in second place, only 1 second behind now. We're within DRS, and it is so fitting, don't you think, in a season like we've had, where myself and Russell have been the 2 drivers with the most wins in this season. We've been the only 2 drivers really consistently always aiming for the top qualifying spots, the podiums, the race wins. It is so fitting that this championship looks like it's going to get decided by a straight out fight for the race win here in Abu Dhabi. Russell v myself, whoever wins the race is going to win this championship. And here we are well within the DRS range, just about half a second there behind as we lose a little bit of time on the exit, but the DRS flap is going to open up, and here we come flying at the McLaren. Russell goes defensive to the left hand side. We're on the outside, the racing line, lock up from us. Russell dives through, and we saw that in the mirror. I knew Russell was going to try and pounce back at us a little bit, so we took avoiding action and just narrowly missed making contact with him as you saw his right hand side tyre and the front wing peer into view on the onboard shot on the bottom left. We were so close for him making contact with our side pod, and you can't guarantee it would be damage just for him. It could be damage for us on the side pod, so we need to watch out for that. But Russell is playing this real aggressive as he pinches us right into the apex, then brake checks us as we go through the right hander. He's pulling out all the stops today at Abu Dhabi to make sure he wins this Grand Prix and this championship, but we're going to come back through on the left hand side this time round. Easy does it. He's going to try around the outside though, but we're going to squeeze him out and get back into the lead. But the problem is the McLaren is so, all the AI are so good through that hairpin at the end of sector 1 into sector 2, but that McLaren has just such a good run on us every time on that main straight with DRS, and we're just going to have to do this swapping around every time because we can get the second bite of the cherry with DRS. So this may go down to who is behind who on the last lap of the Grand Prix. In many ways, maybe we want to be behind him right at the end to get that DRS for the second point. I don't know. As we saw Verstappen and Sainz fighting, they had a side-by-side in the last sector. So it's all kicking off here between Mercedes v Ferrari. Giovinazzi doing his own thing in P4, just quietly going about his business. Lando Norris in P3 there. Didn't notice how close he was. So that's going to be a bit awkward, because it looks like Lando actually is a bit impatient with Russell right now. But surely he just has to sit back, Lando, and watch us two fight. But if McLaren want to play this a bit cheekily, they'll make sure that Lando gets in the fight enough to maybe annoy me. I don't know. That's my biggest worry, that we'll have to fight two cars at once as Russell once again comes through, and it's hopeless with DRS open. Even with all the ERS in the world, I can't out-drag him. Instead, we stay behind him. We're going to focus on trying to get the best exit through this right-hander as possible to get that launch, get the second bite of the cherry for the second time, the second straight of DRS. There we go, once again through on the left-hand side. Look behind us, get to the racing line, and we're back up into P1. And once again, we go through this left, right, left chicane in P1, but knowing that McLaren is going to have the run again at that hairpin. Lap 25 of 28 coming out the hairpin. We can see Russell already looking a bit pouncy and looking for that move. We are into the final few laps. This is the end game of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the end game of the entire season. Again, play it just, being patient, not going for a kamikaze dive in that chicane, just waiting for this run to get DRS, get that launch, and pull on George Russell again. He's not got DRS, we do. This time we go to the outside. He makes us go the long way around, and this time he actually outbrakes us. We go for this switchback though, right to left. Russell was deep into that corner. I kind of predicted that by going early on the brakes, but we're now side by side through this entire section like we were earlier. As we go down towards the hotel section, he's on the inside again, and once again Russell is going to make sure he maintains the race lead at that part of the circuit. Again, he was willing to push me right off circuit. We had to back out that to stop that happening, and almost we got caught up with Lando as well, because he was having a little half look down the inside. But now Russell, he's in P1, so now this is very, very different. Earlier we had the advantage, at least, of being ahead and being able to just maybe jockey for position with this this kind of main straight, the two DRS zones. But now, lap 27, look at this. Russell's in the lead in Sector 1, and he just uses that to further get ahead because of that launch off the hairpin. And so I'm within 1 second. I've got DRS, but I'm too far back right now on the second last lap. We're nowhere near him right now. We're getting DRS to pull us in, but we're going to have to try and stick with him as close as we can. Our nose needs to be like right there in his gearbox pretty much as we enter that DRS zone on this last lap of the Grand Prix. This is it. One more racing lap of this race and the entirety of Season 5. And George Russell in the McLaren is in the lead by 4 tenths. It's advantage to him. He's got track position. Will that overtake at the hotel down the inside lap 25? Will that be the thing that seals out his Drivers' Championship? Or can we have one final say in the matter here on the last lap of this race? Through that hairpin, he gets the better exit. Look how far away he's pulling away. But we now open DRS. We're going to deploy ERS all the way down this straight. We're gaining, and we're going to go for the move down the inside. We have to, and it's going to be so close, inches between our two tyres. We go for the switch, left to right, try and get the better exit. Russell still has the advantage, but it's the second DRS zone for us. We're going to pull through on the outside. Russell defends the inside line. Russell cuts the curb, he vaults over. We're side by side. He cuts the curb again and vaults over again. And we're still side by side through the next left. Now it's the run to the hotel, but this time we're going to deploy ERS, and we're the ones committed through the flat-out double right-hander into the hotel, and we pull the move Russell pulled on us twice this race, on him on the final lap in the final sector of this race, an entire season to come through the last 2 corners to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and win our second Drivers' Championship ever on this game. We've actually done it. We've actually done it. We didn't lose a finale. GG's to McLaren. They'll win the Constructors title. GG's to George Russell. What a fight.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. They've done it then. Victory in the last race of the season and the championship as well. What a phenomenal end to a terrific Formula One season. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Well, there we go. Like I said, a very fitting end to the season. That myself and Russell, the two people fighting for so many different wins, fighting for the top spots the whole time this season, it was very fitting that we had an out-and-out scrap for the race win. The race winner takes the championship, and we've done it. Only the second time on this game. I think this is the least amount of Drivers' Championships I've ever won in a career mode series. That's definitely uncharted territory, showing that how much better the AI have gotten on this year's game, how consistent and quick they are at times, how aggressive they can be, that we've only won the Drivers' Championship twice on this game. We've lost the Constructors, showing how important a good teammate is, and Leclerc just wasn't enough in this race, wasn't enough for the second half of this season. Fair play to McLaren, though. They've won fair and square. They deserved it. There was such a good pairing of Russell and Lando, but we've won the drivers, and in what style we did it on the last lap versus Russell, versus our rival for the race win. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, and the wait was worth it. The 2-season or 3-season wait, technically, including the whole of this one, was worth it to win another Drivers' Championship. Guys, if you have enjoyed not only this episode, but the entirety of Season 5, then hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. This series will be returning with Season 6 towards the end part of next week. But till then, guys, hope you enjoy your day. Goodbye.